Hello and welcome to English 9. My name is Chris Warner and I will be your student's instructor for the year, whether we are completely online or partially online and somewhat face-to-face, or we go back full-time. Either way, I will have your student in class for the entire year in the course of English 9. I'm very excited to have all of you in the class this year. It should be an interesting year as we begin the year in the online environment. We will see how everything goes. I'm sure it's going to be great, but I wanted to take a couple minutes to explain what the course is about, who I am, what my expectations are, and kind of some getting started things for all of our students as we figure out English 9 and this online environment. So again, my name is Chris Warner. I use the pronouns he, him, and his. I am starting my 24th year of teaching overall, and I have been at Legacy since 2001. I am highly qualified by the state of Colorado, which is just a teacher certification thing, in order to teach language arts, social studies, teaching the linguistically diverse, and I also have my school administration degree and license. I'm also a national board certified teacher in language arts. I am also serving as the literature to film facilitator, and I am the school's gifted and talented coordinator. I do have a family. You can see my spouse down there. She is also a teacher. She teaches at Boulder High School in their language arts department. So we have all kinds of riveting discussions about comma placement and essay grading at home. I do have two daughters. My older one is Jordan Warner. She's going to be a junior at Boulder High. She is an outstanding student and a strong volleyball player, where she has been the starting setter on their varsity team for the last couple years. She also plays on a competitive club team during high school's off season, and she hopes to play in college somewhere. And then our younger daughter is named Justice Warner, and she is going to be a freshman at Denver School of the Arts, where she is a theater major, but she also does a lot of dance, and so she will be taking classes online at Denver School of the Arts, just like most freshmen at the time, but she is going to be taking them from New York City, as she has been invited to dance with American Ballet Theater and their JKO school this year. So that's who I'm spending my time with when I'm not in class. So yes, we're going to be online for the foreseeable future, and so please reach out to me as a parent whenever you see your students struggling, or when you are struggling, or when you have more questions or concerns about what's happening, where the class is going. If your student is or isn't getting something, please let me know. And so this is not really an ideal situation for education, in my opinion. That's why I did not intend to be an online teacher when I went to teacher school. I would much rather be interacting with students in the classroom. It makes it, I think, a lot more efficient and a lot more effective. But what's happening is happening. I can't control that on a macro level. So here we are in the online environment, and so please let me know what is working, what isn't working, whatever needs to get done to help your students. I will certainly do that. I have years of experience to pull upon, myriad of resources that can be used and manipulated to transition into this online environment, and so I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help them keep up, grow, and be ready to re-enter the face-to-face educational world and be just fine and ready to advance to the next level. So yes, I understand that we have students on IEPs, 504s, ALPs, lit plans, ELD levels, medical, all kinds of things like that. So we have been able to see those through Infinite Campus, and I've been able to see what students have in terms of any additional resources needed, potential flags for extra help, that kind of stuff. And so I have seen those. I am aware of who is who, but it may take some time to kind of connect those names to faces. And so as I do, and as students reveal who they are and what struggles they have, I think we'll be able to move forward pretty effectively. And I'm excited to see all the kids at some point, either on a Zoom meeting or in face-to-face, but we'll just take one step at a time and kind of make progress from there. So let's talk about this class, English 9. So first off, all freshmen will take this same course. There is no honors, there is no AP level for freshman English. And so all freshmen at Legacy will take this. It is traditionally an interdisciplinary course between English, which would be me, and then a teaching partner who would teach government and economics. And so when you see the in-person class, you'll see that it's a double classroom with a folding wall down the middle. And we as instructors typically keep that wall open. So our course is typically 60 kids big, 2 teachers instructing and helping and guiding students along the way within a block. So typically 2 periods throughout the day. But for the online portion, we've chosen to split that a little bit so that each course is 1 period long, and we will focus on English 9. But I think you will see as we go and we get into the material, students will see an overlap between the reading and writing that is necessary for English class, which will then focus on literature, poetry, nonfiction, but then also the governmental or economics topics that my teaching partner, Mr. Serbo, is teaching alongside. And so while in the online environment we might be a little more split apart, when we are back in the big classroom, this course becomes very interdisciplinary. It's not just reading in order to read a novel. It becomes reading to help understand his government texts. It's writing to write nonfiction for his essays and my literary analysis essays. And so you can see the interweaving of the skills and the content for both classes. And so to try to make that a little bit more concrete, what does interdisciplinary mean? So as I'm teaching students how to read, how to look for literary devices, how to be an active reader and annotate while reading, and Mr. Serbo is talking about the philosophy of government, like do we even need government in the world? We might choose the novel of Lord of the Flies. As Mr. Serbo maybe goes on to the next unit and talks about comparative governments, so the idea of democracy versus theocracies versus dictatorships, we might be reading the novel Fahrenheit 451. And so like we said, the point of English 9 is to help students become better readers, writers, speakers, researchers, and thinkers. So the curriculum we have access to is balancing 3 important parts. One is the district units of study, and that is what we at Legacy have been pulling from for the last couple years. They have been set up in 6 units for the year, or 3 a semester, and they balance the teaching of literature with the teaching of nonfiction, teaching of research, all of those important skills. And from there, inherent in there, is the ability to teach certain novels throughout the year. So we have a list of books that we have access to, we then have physical copies of, and that's going to need to change a little bit here in the online world because we can't just walk down to the book depository anymore. So we may ask students to physically check out a copy of a book, while we might also be providing some PDF copies of books online, some audiobooks online, that kind of stuff. And so we're balancing the district units of study. We have access to the Florida virtual curriculum, which the district has recently purchased as a way to help us with the online portion of this. But then we also get to balance the stuff that I have created over the 24 years that are going to address the skills, that are going to address the units, that are going to be part of that district curriculum, but that I have had to create as an individual instructor. At any time, either for full texts, short stories, poetry, film clips, anything like that. Again, the superintendent's policy offers parents the potential for opting out of curriculum. So parents may choose to opt out their students from the curriculum, or students may choose to opt themselves out from curriculum. And if that is a choice that parties would like to make, that is totally fine. My job would then be to find a suitable alternate for either the book we're reading, the short story, the poem, anything like that. Please don't feel nervous about asking for an alternate. Please don't feel like I'm going to embarrass or shame a student for not wanting to read the same book that everyone else is. I understand that curriculum is a very personal subject around many households, and I definitely want to honor the limits that families are seeking to have presented to their students. Grading in English 9 and in all courses at Legacy will be standards-based grading. It's based on the state standards that we have been provided. And so the end of a grading period, they will end up with a traditional letter grade. And so as far as I understand, this is different from the middle school where they get 4s and 3s and things like that. At the end of a grading period, which for our class, English 9, is a semester, at the end of that semester, they will earn a letter grade, the traditional A through F system, because we as the high school have to act as that transition between the standards-based grading of the middle school, where you get numbers, and the collegiate system that requires a GPA to figure out class rank, to figure out college admittance. Students will earn the A through F system that many of us as parents are historically familiar with. On the English side, you can see what the grade book will be broken down into. So we have 4 bins or categories that all assignments fit into. So we categorize them as writing, and so that could be narrative writing or informational essay writing, that kind of stuff, or reading, and that's when we are reading fiction or nonfiction and working on the skills that are inherent in both of those genres. We'll talk about speaking and listening, and then formative or homework. So you can see that any assignment that is given in English 9 is going to fit into one of these bins. You can see the weights there, that clearly the big ticket items are the reading and writing bins. So that's what we're really focusing on in each assignment that we're giving. And so we do embed in our course the idea of teaching life lessons. We want students to form an opinion on an issue, not to guess what we want them to think or what they think they should think or what their parents think they should think, but what do they think? Like, we want them to understand these issues of life, literature, government, econ, that kind of stuff, form their own opinion, use evidence to defend that position and to take risks. Be able to self-advocate, talk about themselves and say, here's what I need, and be able to come forward and say, you know what, I messed up my time management. I have something that's not really going to be done on time. Can I get an extra day? Sure, no problem. I really don't understand this. Can I get some extra help? Sure, no problem. Like, we want students to make that growth and that new step of speaking for themselves, taking responsibility for their choices, and becoming that adult that we all want them to become. Mr. Serbo and I have been doing this for a while, and the consistent things we notice is that freshmen tend to struggle with the workload and expectations at first. Again, the middle schools have done a great job in preparing kids. They are strong readers. They are competent writers. They are good thinkers. But the pacing and the focus changes as we hit that high school level. So give them some time. They do figure this out. And so as we are in this online environment, and even when we do go back to face-to-face instruction, the quickest way you can get in contact with Mr. Serbo or me is through email, since we'll be mostly at our computers and doing this process from there. Phone is less good because you'd have to call our school number. We do get an email letting us know that somebody has called, but email is a great way to start those conversations and go from there. We can certainly move to a Google Meet or a Zoom meeting if we all want to be face-to-face about any concerns, questions, or kudos you have about the class, course, or how your student's doing. That's fine. Feel free to send that email at any time. I'm not saying I'm going to answer it at midnight, but I'll certainly get to it within that 24-hour realm that we are encouraged to do so. And if appropriate and necessary, we'll definitely push for the student to be involved in this process. We understand that there are some topics that just adults need to talk to each other about, but we would really like to expand that tent and see where can the student be involved, where can they speak for themselves, where can they get involved in their own learning. And so as much as possible, we'll try to push for that whenever we have conversation that involves them and their learning. So that's about it. Again, my name is Chris Warner. You can see my email there again, christopher.warner@adams12.org. You can see my school phone number. So if you call and leave a message there, I will be informed that a message has been left, and I'll be able to call you back from there. Again, let's start that process. If you have questions, concerns, feedback, anything, feel free to send that along. But if you have a question, concern now, let me know. Let's get those answered up as best we possibly can. Thanks so much for sharing your kids with us. We look forward to working with them throughout the semester, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much.